All right, hi everybody. My name is Tori, and I chose the 10th grade. And for the content standards, I chose 10.1.3 and 10.5.5. So, first, I'll be discussing the standard for the 10th grade 1. Students relate to the moral and ethical principles in ancient Greek and Roman philosophy, in Judaism, and in Christianity to develop the Western political and for substandard 3, it would be consider the influence of the U.S. Constitution on political systems in the contemporary world. So to start with this one, in yellow, I highlighted relate and consider, and those would be the level of cognition, and everything in green after would be the content. And then as we go down to 10.5.5, the standard 5, students analyze the causes and course of the First World War. And then substandard 5, discuss human rights violations and genocide, including the Ottoman government's actions against Armenian citizens. Yellow, highlight, again, will be the level of cognition, analyze and discuss, and then everything in green after is what I consider to be the content. So next, I will be discussing Bloom's taxonomy as it relates to the content standards I've chosen, as well as the depth of knowledge. So the Bloom's taxonomy is more so the verb to classify the level of teaching and the products that come from the tasks, while the depth of knowledge is more so the description of how students think and process, not only the product. So for content 1.3 for the 10th grade, so 10.1.3, it uses the verb relate, which is under the analyze category, and it's used to draw connections. And the substandard 3 uses the verb consider, which also uses a verb for analyzing that falls under Bloom's taxonomy. And this is able to distinguish parts, draw connections, and stuff like that when relating to the content of the standard. And then as we move into 10.5.5, analyze is also being used as the verb for Bloom's taxonomy, and this would also fall under the analyze category. And then for the substandard 5, discuss is the verb being used, and that is more so to explain the ideas, and it falls under the understanding aspect of Bloom's taxonomy. As we go into the depth of knowledge for 10.1.3, it falls under the level 3, which is strategic thinking and reasoning, and it's more so the reason something happens, the planning, having evidence, drawing conclusions, and all of these are used in 10.1.3. And then for 10.5.5, there's also a level 3 in the standard where it says analyze. That would fall under strategic thinking and reasoning. But when we just use the verb discuss, it would fall under level 2 for the substandard, because it is the complete steps for a solution, and it's the decision making and procedures that go into the process of discussion. So with that being said, we then go down into the learning objective template, and I just transferred it on over into a Word document, and I put all of the fill in the blanks in all caps so it's easier to read. So for the learning objective 10.1.3, I wrote, scholars will be able to consider connections on the influences of the United States Constitution political systems by giving examples of how it influenced major political systems and getting at least 3 examples correct. And then when I go into the learning objective of 10.5.5, I wrote, scholars will be able to discuss human rights violations and genocide by getting in a group to choose a major issue during the First World War and meeting the rubric score of at least a 75% as a group. And so these are both learning objectives that will help to show and analyze and discuss and consider and relate all of the content standards from above. Thank you.